3 Kashmiri separatists have agreed to speak to us. They are no longer part of the armed struggle, but they strongly support it. 20 years ago, they were amongst the thousands of young Kashmiri men that crossed into Pakistan and Afghanistan to train in camps for militants.
This is my group, Al Jihad. The police used this poster to try and scare the movement. We trained to use weapons over there. I went to Afghanistan, trained there, and then went to Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. I wanted to return as soon as possible and start an armed struggle here.
Pakistan has always denied supporting the militant camps.
We saw how the Afghan Mujahideen chased away Russia. That had a big impact on us. We knew that this was the best way to get rid of India.
It is a conflict that has claimed more than 50,000 lives. Over the last few months, unidentified mass graves have been discovered across the state. In the village of Bimyar, more than 200 bodies lie in unmarked graves. Only 6 of the dead have been identified. Buried here are the bodies of men killed in encounters with the Indian armed forces. Muhammad Atta, a local farmer, says he was one of those forced to bury the bodies.
They told us that there were Afghans, that there were foreigners. But we always felt that they were from our valley, that they were Kashmiris.
Over the past 2 decades, India's repressive policies and crackdowns on militancy have succeeded in reducing the number of those willing to fight for Kashmiri independence. A permanent solution, however, continues to elude the region.
OK, so that was the report sent to us by our team, our France 24 team in New Delhi. Well, for more analysis, if we can now talk to Praveen Swami, who joins us on the line from New Delhi, who is a terrorism expert, but also a journalist in India. Thank you very much for taking time to talk to us. We heard there in the report about the jihadi element, prevalent, of course, in Kashmir, but it's also important to point out that there is a difference between the Muslim fundamentalists and the moderate Kashmiri nationalists, isn't there?
Absolutely. Most of the members of the armed groups are affiliated to various extreme Islamist organizations, but there's also a relatively moderate Kashmiri nationalist political element, and it's this nationalist element India is now trying to seek some kind of political engagement with in the hope that it might lead to an eventual political resolution. We're a long way from that, though.
But, I mean, in terms of the political makeup, then, of the Kashmiris, they are, in some respects, rather divided. Is that a tact that's been exploited by the Indian government in their attempts to negotiate for peace, finally, in the region?
India has, in the past, sought to reach out to one or the other group, but the consensus that's evolved over the years is that this particular tactic isn't particularly helpful, in the sense that any one group that is engaged with then attracts reprisals from others. Several moderate leaders have been assassinated over the years. One just last month suffered an attempted assassination after India held talks with moderate Kashmiri groups. What India would like to see right now is an inclusive dialogue, but Islamist groups, particularly pro-Pakistan groups in the Kashmir Valley, aren't interested in a dialogue of this kind. Within Jammu and Kashmir itself, we sometimes forget that it's a multi-ethnic, multi-religious state, and opinions deeply divided on the way forward. There are parties which want complete independence from India. There are parties which want accession to Pakistan, and there are parties which want the status quo or even deeper accession with India. So a dialogue process involves dealing with a huge number of very disparate voices.
OK, now you mentioned, of course, the Pakistani element, and Pakistan has in the past been criticised for having too porous a border. What has been the Pakistani authorities' tact in dealing with the insurgency raging in Kashmir?
Well, until 2001, 2002, when India and Pakistan almost went to war, Pakistan quite openly supported jihadist groups operating in Jammu and Kashmir. Since that, the India-Pakistan crisis, President Pervez Musharraf's regime cracked down to an extent on the cross-border movement of these groups. And we've seen the results of that, because since 2002, violence has declined every year, year on year, to a point where now, last year, less than 500 people all told, including jihadists, were killed in the fighting. That's in contrast with over 5,000 a year a decade ago. Having said that, the camps run by many of these groups, like the Hizbul Mujahideen and the Lashkar-e-Taiba, are still active. There continue to be fire engagement between Indian troops and these jihadist groups on a more or less daily basis along the line of control that divides Kashmir. And last year saw a mild increase in infiltration. So the story is far from over yet.
Okay, Praveen Swami talking to us there live from New Delhi. Thank you very much for that, Praveen, and also to our correspondent Vikram Singh, who also took part in this Focus. That's it for this edition of Focus. You can watch it again on our website. Do stay with us, though, because the morning edition does continue after this short break.